Alright, Raiders Nation, buckle up, because we're diving into the wild world of Las Vegas football with some jaw-dropping news that's got Allegiant Stadium buzzing. Can you believe the Silver and Black are staring down a potential quarterback shakeup in the heart of the 2025 season? With the Raiders sitting at a tough 2-5 record, whispers are growing louder that a dynamic new signal caller could be on the horizon. So, let's break it down, unpack the drama, and talk about what's next for this iconic franchise. This is your Las Vegas Raiders report, and trust me, you're not going to want to miss a single second. First, let's set the stage. The Raiders, now led by legendary head coach Pete Carroll, a guy who's no stranger to turning teams around, kicked off 2025 with high hopes after snagging two-time Pro Bowl quarterback Geno Smith in the offseason. The move was bold, a classic Raiders swing for the fences, echoing the rebellious spirit of Al Davis himself. But 7 games into the season, the results? Well, let's just say they've been rougher than a 3rd and long against the Chiefs' defense. A brutal 31-0 shutout loss to Kansas City last week exposed some glaring issues. The Raiders managed just 95 yards of total offense. Folks, that's a franchise low, and it's the kind of stat that makes you double-check the score sheet. They ran only 30 offensive plays, the second fewest in NFL history, trailing only the 1999 expansion Cleveland Browns. 3 first downs, 0 third down conversions, and just 17 minutes and 52 seconds of possession time? That's not the commitment to excellence we know from the Raiders' storied past. Now, let's zoom in on the offense, because this is where the plot thickens. Las Vegas ranks 28th in the NFL in total offense, averaging a measly 276.4 yards per game. Their scoring, even tougher to watch, with just 14.7 points per game, the second worst in the league. For context, a touchdown, when a player carries or catches the ball into the end zone for 6 points, is something Raiders fans haven't seen nearly enough of. Compare that to their glory days, when legends like Ken Stabler and Marcus Allen were lighting up scoreboards in Oakland and Los Angeles, winning Super Bowls in 76, 80, and 83. Back then, the Raiders were a juggernaut, a team that struck fear into opponents with their swagger and grit. Today, though, the offense is struggling to find that same spark. At the heart of the issue is Geno Smith. Now, don't get me wrong, Geno's got the pedigree. He's a veteran quarterback, a guy who's thrown for over 4,000 yards in a season and earned Pro Bowl nods. But this year, it's been a rocky road. He's tied for the NFL lead with 10 interceptions, and his 77.4 passer rating ranks him 22nd among starting QBs. For a team that plays in the glitzy, futuristic Allegiant Stadium, affectionately dubbed the Death Star by fans, this kind of performance feels more like a power outage than a laser show. Raiders Nation is passionate, loyal, and loud, but even they're starting to wonder, is Geno the guy to lead this team back to greatness, or is it time for a new face under center? Enter Dante Moore, the Oregon quarterback who's got the NFL draft world buzzing like a sold-out crowd on game day. CBS Sports' Mike Renner dropped a bombshell this week, predicting that the Raiders could target Moore with their first-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Why Moore? Well, this kid's got an arm that could launch a football into orbit. He's a dynamic, dual-threat quarterback. Think a guy who can sling it deep to Davante Adams or tuck the ball and run like Marcus Allen in his prime. Renner pointed to Moore's bounce-back performance against Rutgers, where he showed off his cannon of an arm and cool-headed playmaking. Sure, Moore's still raw. He hasn't played a ton of college ball, but his potential is sky-high. And here's where it gets really interesting. Moore's got a connection to the Raiders' new offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly. Let's rewind for a second. Back in 2023, Kelly was the head coach at UCLA, and he recruited Moore, a 5-star prospect and the number 4 ranked high school player in the country. Kelly saw something special in Moore, enough to make him the cornerstone of UCLA's future. Their time together was short. Kelly moved to Ohio State as offensive coordinator, but that bond could be a game-changer for the Raiders. With Kelly now calling plays in Vegas, Moore feels like a match made in football heaven. If the Raiders land a top 5 pick in April, and with their current 2-5 record, that's not out of the question. Moore could be the spark this offense desperately needs. Imagine Kelly designing plays for Moore, with Davante Adams hauling in deep balls and Max Crosby wreaking havoc on the defensive line. That's the kind of vision that gets Raiders Nation hyped. Now, let's talk tactics for a minute, because this is where the Raiders' struggles get crystal clear. The offensive line, those big guys up front protecting the quarterback, has been a revolving door, with injuries and inconsistent play making it tough for Smith to find a rhythm. Without solid protection, even a quarterback with Adams' elite receiving skills can't make magic happen. On the flip side, the defense, led by Maxx Crosby, has been a bright spot. Crosby, a relentless edge rusher, is on pace for another double-digit sack season, reminding everyone why he's one of the NFL's most feared defenders. But even Crosby's heroics can't mask the offense's woes. The Raiders need balance, and that starts with smarter play calling and, potentially, a new QB. Let's put this in historical context. The Raiders have always been about bold moves and big personalities. Think back to the 1970s, when John Madden roamed the sidelines and Ken Stabler, the Snake, slung touchdown passes with ice in his veins. Or the 1980s, when Marcus Allen danced through defenses en route to Super Bowl glory. Even in the 2000s, Charles Woodson embodied the Raiders' grit, earning a Heisman and becoming a defensive legend. This team thrives on swagger, on defying the odds, on sticking it to rivals like the Chiefs, Broncos, and Chargers. But right now, they're not living up to that commitment to excellence motto. Compared to last season, when they went 8-9 and showed flashes of playoff potential, this 2-5 start feels like a step back. Their 276.4 yards per game is a far cry from the 1983 championship team's 374.1 average. And those 14.7 points per game? The 83 Raiders were dropping 27.7 points a game on their way to a Super Bowl ring. So, what do the experts think? I caught up. Well, let's say I imagine catching up with Raiders legend Tim Brown, the Hall of Fame wide receiver who knows a thing or two about big plays. Look, the Raiders are at their best when they've got a quarterback who can handle the pressure and make something out of nothing, Brown might say. Geno's got heart, but if Moore's the guy Chip Kelly thinks he is, you draft him, develop him, and let him learn from a veteran. That's how you build a winner. And let's not forget the fans. I can picture a die-hard Raiders Nation member, decked out in silver and black outside Allegiant Stadium, shouting, "We need a spark man." Moore sounds like he could bring that old-school Raider vibe back. Even Coach Carroll, known for his upbeat energy, might chime in, "We're building something special here. It's a process, but we're all in for Raider Nation." Looking ahead, the implications are huge. If the Raiders draft Moore, they could afford to let him develop behind Smith, who's still under contract. This isn't a one-and-done fix, though. The AFC West is a gauntlet. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are perennial Super Bowl contenders. The Chargers are finding their groove with Justin Herbert, and the Broncos are scrappy under Sean Payton. A top 5 pick could also let the Raiders address other needs, like the offensive line or secondary, but Moore's upside might be too tempting to pass up. If they turn things around, maybe sneak into the wild card race, this season could still be salvaged. But if the losses pile up, 2026 could be the start of a new era in Vegas. Now, let's sprinkle in a little Raiders trivia to keep things fun. Did you know the Raiders' commitment to excellence motto was coined by Al Davis himself? It's a reminder of the team's relentless pursuit of greatness, from their Oakland roots to their glitzy Vegas home. And how about those rivalries? The Chiefs-Raiders feud is the stuff of legend. Think back to the 1970 Holy Roller play, when Stabler's fumble-turned touchdown stunned Kansas City. Or the 1983 season, when the Raiders crushed the Chargers in the playoffs en route to a Super Bowl. These are the moments that define Raiders football, and they're what fans are craving today. Pop culture's got its hands on the Raiders, too. From Ice Cube rocking a Raiders cap in his music videos to Marshawn Lynch's beast mode days in Oakland, this team's rebellious spirit resonates far beyond the gridiron. Heck, even in 2025, you can't scroll through X without seeing Raiders fans hyping up the Death Star or memeing about their AFC West battles. It's a franchise that's as much a lifestyle as it is a football team. So, what's next for the Raiders? They've got a tough road ahead, starting with their next game against the Denver Broncos, a classic rivalry matchup that's sure to bring the heat. Can Geno Smith silence the doubters and channel his Pro Bowl form? Will Maxx Crosby keep terrorizing quarterbacks? And could Dante Moore be the future face of this franchise? One thing's for sure, Raiders Nation will be watching, cheering, and maybe even tailgating in true silver and black style. Alright, fans, that's your Raiders report. Get out there, fire up those grills, and pack Allegiant Stadium for the next game. Follow us for all the latest updates, analysis, and maybe a few more surprises from the wild world of Raiders football. Until then, keep the faith, and just win, baby.